Hi, my name is Matt Lewis, and this video is to get you started in Math 50C. So first, I just want to give a brief explanation of what this class is all about and kind of where it's ultimately heading um, for most students. So I'm going to start with this here. This is the math pathway that describes how you get from Math 50C where you're at to 100 level math classes. Now, not 100% of students will take this exact path depending on your major, but a good majority of you are going to. And so the reason I show you this to start off with is probably the most important aspect of this class is that you can complete 2 classes this quarter, right? So those first 2 in the sequence, Math 50 and Math 75, you have the ability to complete both of those classes this quarter. And if you do complete both of them, you will still only pay for 1 class, okay? So you've already paid to take a class at YVC, so it doesn't matter if you're able to get both of those done this quarter. You've already paid what you owe, and so this is an opportunity for you to get 2 for the price of 1. So today I'm going to describe how it is that that's possible to get through both of those classes in 1 quarter. And the other thing that I just want to say at the outset so I don't forget is that after this video today, you very well may feel completely comfortable getting started. And so you could get a couple-day head start and go ahead and get started on the class this weekend. And that is totally fine. So I'm going to describe today how the course works, how to navigate the online environment, and then you can go ahead and get started. And what we'll do is you'll have a chance to meet with me on Monday, and I'll as I've described in the email I sent to you. But you can certainly get started. You really can't break anything. That's the nice thing about this class. All right, so to get started here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a fake student account so you can see how everything looks from the student's perspective. All right, so the first thing is that you're going to go to wamap.org, and you can see the web address right here. You just simply type in wamap.org. That's it. And it'll take you to this page right here. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to type in your student ID number, right? For most of you, that's an 865 number. So, you know, something like here's a fake student 865 number. This isn't a real student, so I can put that up there. And so you're going to put that in as the username, and then you're also going to enter that exact same thing in as the password. So it'll be the student ID number for both username and password. After you log in this first time, it's going to force you to change your password to something else, something more secure. So make sure that you, change it to something that's going to be easy for you to remember. All right, now my fake student that I have is does not have a student ID number. So there's my fake student account, and it's got its own password. And so I'm going to log in. Now, I'm not going to click any of this stuff, register as a new student or anything like that. I have already made an account for you, so you do not need to click on that. So you're just going to do what I described, student ID number in both spots, and hit log in. And you'll see this, Math 50C, Spring 2020. So that's our course. All right. Now, when I click on it here, the first thing you see at the top is this thing called facts tests, and I will describe what that's all about, but I'm going to describe that at the end because it's less central to understanding how the class works. So first thing, you heard me mention that you can get both Math 50 and Math 75 done this quarter, And that's because both courses' materials are in this class. And so, to put it simply, you are going to work through each of the modules for Math 50. You'll take tests at the end of each module. Then you will take a final exam over all the Math 50 material. And if you complete that within a matter of weeks, then you'll have a whole bunch of time on your hands and you can go ahead and start on Math 75. And if you complete that, what'll happen is we will just give you credit for Math 75. So on your transcript, it'll appear as if you never even took Math 50 and you started in Math 75 to begin with. All right, so that's all the material there. But to give you a better idea of exactly how you move through, let's go ahead and click on one of these. So I'll click on Math 50C Chapter 1. All right, and it looks like this. So Math 50C Chapter 1 module has a whole bunch of blocks of material in it. And the one that you're going to start with is the pretest. So one of the things in this class is that I don't want you to be doing extra work that's just busy work. I don't want you to have to turn assignments into me that on material that you already know. So everyone's going to take a pretest to start off this first chapter. And there's no pressure on it. It doesn't really factor into your grade unless you do really well on it, then I guess it can. But it can't hurt you at all. And it's just to see what kind of stuff you already know. So what I want to do is carefully go through these instructions here. And not only will these instructions tell you about how the pretest works, but this will be the same exact way that regular tests work as well. All right, so first of all, it says at the end of the pretest, you'll be given a score for each section of this chapter, and any score that you score 100% accuracy on, or any section you score 100% accuracy on, you're allowed to skip. All right, so in this pretest, we're going to categorize the questions, and if you ace a particular category, you get to skip all the homework for that category. All right, so in these are just some things you're agreeing to when you take this test, that you're not going to use a calculator, a smartphone, or any other technology to assist you. You're not going to use your textbook, notes, or anything like that. So this is a test in the true form. Number 3, you will print out this form, chapter test work area, and show all of your work here. So you just click on this link before you get started on the test. All right, and depending on how your computer works, you'll have to go through different steps to get it. And so in mine, I just, it goes to my downloads, and then I can double click on it, and eventually it'll open. Okay. And as you can see, my little Microsoft Word icon is dancing here, but taking a while to get loaded up. When it pops up, I'll show that to you. But I'll go ahead and move on for now. So number 4, you need to make sure you have 50 uninterrupted minutes to take this test, okay? So that means, I know a lot of us have kids at home and things like that. They're not at school like they normally are. So make sure that you take your test at a time where, you either, can have someone else watching young children, you can turn on the TV, our favorite babysitter, things like that, just so you make sure that you're not going to get interrupted, because it is on a timer, right? And you want to make sure that you have plenty of time to take the test. Okay, here's the document. So if you're able, what I'd like you to do is, before you take any pretest or any test in this class, print out this form, and it's just a blank form, and it's where you're going to write your work down, okay? If you are unable to print this out, right, maybe you don't have a nice printer at home or something like that, that's easily available to you, that's okay. Just when you are doing your test, you need to also record all your work for it. So you can do this on blank sheets of paper, but just make sure that you carefully number each problem. just like they're numbered on here. And then number 5, when you click on the pretest here, it'll ask you for a password. Now I'm telling you what the password is because it's not to keep you out. It's just to make sure that you don't accidentally click on a test and have the timer start all just because you clicked on the wrong link. So this will just be sure that you're actually ready to take a test. So you'll type that in when the time comes. And then in number 6, it says after you've completed the test, you're going to attach your work below. So I'm going to click on this here, and this gives me a place where I can link up pictures of my work. So what I would literally do is if I had this form printed out and I had work written on it, then I would just go with my phone, right? I think the easiest way to do this is just with the phone. Take pictures one by one of the pages and just attach each page to the pages here. And just try to keep it in order for me, right? So make sure that the first page of your test goes in page 1, second page goes in page 2, and you're literally just clicking on choose file, and you can do this from your phone. And so when you click on choose file, you know, it'll pull up you know, your phone's files, and you can just go grab the picture. Okay, that's probably the very easiest way to do this. All right, I know it says attach a PDF here. It does not need to be a PDF. It can just be an image. I need to fix that. Yeah, a PDF is not required. All right, so let me show you what this looks like. All right, so here's the spot for my password. Remember, it's CH1 for chapter 1. All right, and so here's what your WAMAP questions look like. So it says what digit is in the 10,000s column for the number 99,666. I'm not going to do all these problems, so I'm going to do a few so you can see what it looks like. So I'm putting the number 9, but what I'm also doing is I'm making sure I write that down, okay? So on the work that you are writing down, even if it's just an answer, I want you to write it, okay? Write the number in standard form. Okay, so 2,678. I hit submit. And so I'm just making my way through here. Let's see, the greatest precipitation looks like is December. And the least precipitation is October. I'm just going to do a few more here. Rounding this to the nearest 10 would be 9,850. And to the nearest 100, 6,200. Okay, and I could go on and on, but you get the picture, right? You know, maybe let's get this one wrong here. Okay, now obviously I would finish this before turning it in, but once I did finish all of them, I would click here to see a summary of my scores. Okay, and it gives me some results here, right? Green is good. I got 1 out of 1 on those first 5. I missed the 6th one like I said I would, and then I didn't even try the others. Now, when you finish your pretest, what you're going to do is go down to the bottom and look at your category breakdown. So section 1.1 and 1.2, I scored 100% on. That means I already know that material, and there's no reason for me to go and do the homework for those sections. So I get to skip them. So when I go to actually start my work for this chapter, I'm going to start on section 1.3. Now, if any of you are fortunate enough to just knock out just about all of them, our rule is if you get 90% or above on this pretest, then you get to skip the entire chapter. So even if you get a problem or 2 wrong, if you get 90% or above, you get to skip the whole chapter and don't have to do any work at all. So this is one of the ways that we hope to help you go through the material faster is by checking to see what you already know and maybe not making you do quite as much work. And so you can see how maybe you can move through chapter 1 pretty quick and then maybe move through chapter 2 pretty quick, so that it gives you time to work on your Math 75 material as well. All right, so just as a reminder here, you're writing all your work down. So if you were someone who was not able to print out the sheet ahead of time, then you can write it out like this. Just make sure you number the problems. And the reason that even when it's a really simple problem and not a lot of work to show, like those first few that I did on the pretest, the reason I'm writing them down is I might have made a typo when I went to actually type in the answer. What I'm going to do is when you upload this work to me, I am going to look through it and make sure there aren't typos and things like that. All right, let me share my screen once again. All right, so I've completed the pretest, I've uploaded my work, and now I'm ready to move on. Now remember, I tested out of section 1.1 and section 1.2. And you notice, since those are sections I don't need to do, it now is going to say, congratulations, you've completed the section. So this is just a little reminder that, okay, you've already done it. And it's also an indicator that says, if you don't see this message and you think you've completed an entire assignment, make sure you go back and complete the assignment, because you should see this message if it's completely done. So it just probably means if this doesn't show up that you have a couple of problems that you actually didn't finish and you thought you had. So you just go back and make sure you do that. All right, so section 1.1 and 1.2 are both problems where they don't have a lot of work to show. So I don't expect you to turn in any written work for those. However, once we get to section 1.3, there is written work that you need to turn in. So when you see this attached section 1.3 work here, make sure you do that. So as you are working through an assignment, you're writing down all of your work, just like on that pretest. And then when you've completed the entire assignment, like I said before, and it looks like, oh, that's right, I already did an example of this. So this is where I attached page 1, page 2, and page 3 of the written work that I did for that section. And so if I had a 4th page, then I would just go ahead and click here, find my page, and attach it. And I need to actually do that. And as you can see, you just leave everything blank that you don't need to use, right? So if I only had 3 pages of material to show, then I just attach to those first 3 pages and leave the rest of these blank. Now I want to show you what it looks like to actually start to work through an assignment. So I'm going to use section 1.5 as an example. All right, so in section 1.5, we're working on multiplying and dividing. And what you see at first here is a video. So throughout this class, everything that I'm asking you to do, there's going to be, or I should say almost everything, there's going to be a video for, right? So it's just like you're in class, you're receiving a lesson from the instructor, and you're going to see these videos pop up at the beginnings of assignments and also throughout different points of the assignments. And I'll show you how that works. So when you see this, you're just going to hit play.
In this lesson, we're going to look at
hear my voice. You're going to see writing appear.
That has multiple digits.
Zoom forward there. See writing appear. And so it's just like a lesson on the whiteboard in class. When you finish watching that video, obviously you're going to take notes on it for yourself. so you can go back and refer to those. Then it's got questions for you to answer. So here's my first question. And again, I'm writing down my work as I do this problem. But the answer here, I did a couple of these ahead of time, is 651. So I get the answer of 651. It highlights it in green to alert me to the fact that I did it correctly. So that's good. And now I go to question number 2. Okay. So in question number 2, here we go. 3,462 is the answer. I'm writing down my work. I hit submit. I got that right. I'll do a couple more here. All right, so now I got to question number 3. And in question number 3, more videos popped up. So what that means is that I've moved on to a new type of question that I really need to watch the videos on to understand how to do it. And if you go back to question number 1, notice that in this one, I'm just multiplying by a single digit, 93 times 7, right? 4,866 times 7. So when I've moved on to question 3, this is multiplying by 2-digit numbers, and then this one down here multiplying by 3-digit numbers. And so it's the level of complication has been raised. So you need to watch these videos as well before you start answering additional questions. Okay, but again, I watched both of those, then I start answering my questions. All right, so 11,704 is my answer. I'm gonna do just a couple more here. This one I'm doing my work for, I should get 111,482, and so on. Okay. Now, one of the things you see down here is after I finish, it shows me a detailed solution, okay? So the way you use the detailed solution is if, say, you got the problem incorrect, if you got the problem wrong, then you could see what the work should have looked like and then correct the issue, okay? Now you might be wondering, okay, what happens if I get it wrong, okay? So let's say I get one wrong, okay? It highlights the thing in red. It tells me what I should have done, right? So here's the work that I should have had. And then it gives me a chance to redo it, okay? So I just click try a similar question after I've analyzed what it is that I did. And I'm gonna cheat here and just quickly get the answer. All right, so I reworked this new problem, and notice this new problem definitely looks like the old problem, but it has different numbers, right? So I type in my answer here. Okay, and so here's my correct answer. So it highlighted in green, and now you see a 1 out of 1 on the side. So the deal with doing these problems is there is unlimited attempts, right? There's no penalty for getting the problem wrong. The point is I want you to practice and practice until you've got it. All right. Now these detailed solutions, if I kind of click down here and show you a different one, here's a division problem. These detailed solutions are really helpful. So like this shows step by step, you know, long division can be a tough topic, shows step by step this, what I should have done to get the correct answer. So I would say probably about 90% of questions have these detailed solutions. So really do take advantage of that. All right, so I go through, I do this entire problem until I see 1 out of, or this entire assignment until I see 1 out of 1 on everything. And then when I go back and click, right, remember what I'm looking for is I'm looking for this sign to appear, right? Congratulations, you've completed section 1.2. All right, obviously I didn't finish it, so I'm not going to see it, but that's what you're looking for. And then when you've finished, you go ahead and you attach all the work for it, and it might take multiple pages, right? So you just take a picture, attach the image, take a picture, attach the image, and so on. All right. All right, I think I covered everything that I wanted to in terms of how to get through the section assignments. Okay, so you're going to work through each of these sections until you're all finished, and you take the chapter review, which is just another assignment, but it's pulling problems throughout the entire thing. So it's getting you ready for the test. And then after that, you get to the test. And so once you arrive at the test, you are doing the same steps you did at the pre-test. It looks very similar, obviously different questions, but then you go ahead and take that, and again, make sure you have 50 uninterrupted minutes, right? No calculators, nobody else helping you, all that stuff. It's a true test, right? And so make sure you abide by that, and then attach images of your work here, just like you did with all your assignments and with your pre-test. And when you've completed the chapter test, then you go ahead and start chapter 2. And chapter 2 has a pre-test. And if you test out of sections, great, you can skip those, and then you work through, and then you do chapter 2 test. So you can see you can move through this material fairly quickly, depending upon how much of this stuff you've done in the past. For a lot of us, it might just be kind of dusting the cobwebs off, and so you might be able to move through some of it quickly. Another reason to make sure that you take a really good pace through it is because you might have areas of this of this material that are particularly challenging to you, and so the quicker you can work through things that are less challenging, the more time that you'll have allowed for stuff that's going to be a little more difficult. All right. When you're finally finished with all of those chapters, you then go to the final exam. And this is a little bit goofy. The final exam is broken into 2 parts, okay? Now, basically, it looks just like a chapter test, but the reason it's broken into 2 parts is because normally, when we're having a normal quarter and we're in class, you're going to only have 1-hour classes, right? But finals are typically 2-hour finals. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the final, half of it one day and half of it the next day. I didn't change that, even though technically now you could sit down for 2 solid hours. So when you do take your final, you are going to just basically it's like taking 2 tests. All right. And then let's see here. Oh, the one other thing that I need to go back to real quick in regards to chapter tests is, let's say you don't do so well on a chapter test. There is an opportunity for you to bring your grade up. So the way that that's going to work is that if you get a grade you don't like, and basically I would say grade, kind of in the 60s or below, then what I'm going to do is tell you what sections you still need to work on some more. And then I'm going to reset those sections for you to work on. And once you redo those sections, I would let you take the test again. So that is a possibility. And so just know that it's not something you want to have to rely on, but it might happen. And if that happens, you're not completely sunk. You just need to do a little more work to make sure you get that stuff down. The one thing I will say, though, is on your second attempt, the best that you can do is 75%. So if let's say you got like a 50% on your first test, I reset some stuff, and then you redid it and learned it better, and maybe you got like an 88% on the second try, in your grade book, you're only going to get 75. And the reason you're only going to get 75, obviously, is because it's not really fair if one person takes 1 try on a test and gets like 80, and then a second person takes 2 tries and then ends up with a higher grade, right? That doesn't quite, it's not quite fair. So that's the reason for that. So you want to do well the first time, but there's possibility to bring that grade up if the first test doesn't go really well. All right, now back on our main page here, I do want to talk about this first part, the facts tests and the attendance. So what this is all about is just something that I want you to do every day. So every day you're going to see a couple of tests pop up, and sometimes it'll be multiplication, division, sometimes it'll be addition and subtraction. So I want to show you how that looks. So it's literally just kind of like flashcards, all right? And you'll notice that there's a timer up here. It's giving me 2 minutes to do this test. To me, the best way to do this is to use the tab button and your keyboard. I wouldn't really bother with your mouse. I think that's a little bit cumbersome. So I'm just typing in the numbers, and I'm hitting, oops. Actually, let me leave that wrong. And I'm just typing in the numbers, and I'm hitting tab twice. Depending on how your computer's set up, maybe you have to hit tab 3 times, I don't know. But you just hit tab a few times to get to the next blank. And so, of course, what I'm trying to do is get 100% accuracy. And I'm trying to get it within that time period. Oops. Screwed something up here. There we go. And so that timer's counting down, as you can see. And so the idea is we should be able to do these in the allotted amount of time, even with the typing, if we have these memorized, right? Which is what we want. We want to have all of our single-digit addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. We want those things memorized so that we don't have to be thinking too hard about them as we're doing more complicated problems. All right, so now I did this, and up at the top here it says I got 24 out of 25, so I didn't get them all right. And notice that my time is almost out as well. Okay, now your time running out, that is just a marker for you to try to test yourself on. I want you to get to the point where you're finishing it all with 100% accuracy within the allotted amount of time. But if you don't finish it in the time, or if you don't get them all right, I do want you to fix it. And so the way you fix it is by clicking on Reattempt Assessment. And what it's going to do is it's going to show you any problems you missed. And notice I just missed one of them, right? So then I realized, oh, 5 times 6, that's not 39, right? That is 30. I hit Submit. Now I have 25 out of 25. Now I can go and do the other one. So I just want you to do both of those every day. So like I said, sometimes it'll be different tests of adding, subtracting, but it's just to keep those facts on the tip of your brain. And if you know that math facts are kind of things that you struggle with, just let me know that, like, hey, I'm not quite getting these in the right amount of time, and I'll get you some resources like some flashcards and things like that that you can use to make sure that you get those facts down. All right, so those are the main components of the class. Now, one of the things that you'll see up here is a messages link. If you ever see a little red number next to that, make sure you click on messages and read it, because that means that you have an unread message from me, and so that's going to be important for you to keep up to date on. You can also click on your gradebook, and that'll kind of show you all the stuff that you've done. So if you kind of forget where you left off at, you can just go here, and I can see, okay, I've got 100% on these two, but I haven't started this one yet. So you can keep track of where you sit. You can down here. Obviously, this is kind of meaningless for my fake student here because he hasn't done a whole lot, but the weighted total at the bottom, that's kind of where your grade stands in the class at any given moment. So that's what that's all about. Well, one other thing I wanted to show you within an assignment is if you get stumped on a problem and you're not sure what to do about it, you can click on this link that says message instructor about this question. And what it'll do is it'll start to send me a message, and but it'll paste the problem in there. And this is particularly helpful for like a story problem or something. You don't have to have to write it out. So you can just attach that and then tell me up here specifically what it is that your question actually is. So that's a really good feature to use as well. All right, so one of the things you might be wondering is, okay, are there due dates, right? Do I have to complete my assignments by a certain time? And the answer is yes, but I also understand that we are kind of in a unique situation this quarter, so there's going to be a little bit of grace here as well. So down at the bottom of the page, there's a couple things here I'm going to explain, but let me start with this. Let me start with the schedules for success. So there are two schedules here, okay? So here is the one that I kind of want everyone to start looking at. So this is the schedule to try to keep to if you want to complete both Math 50 and Math 75. My suggestion is that this should be everyone's goal at first, and then if you fall too far behind it, then you can switch over to the schedule for just getting through Math 50. All right, so here it is. Okay. And so just have this handy and just make sure you're on track. So as you can see, like if you get chapter 1 test done by next Friday, then you're right on pace with this schedule. Okay. Now the other schedule, Math 50C, is a little more detailed. So this is what you got to do to make sure you get through Math 50C, which is what you signed up for, right? In other words, how do I make sure I have a passing grade in the class? So here it is, and it tells you section by section when those things are actually due. So what I would say here is that you want to, you have to have the sections listed done on or before the date that is described here. My very strong suggestion is to stay ahead of it, okay? So don't treat this as, oh, sweet, I can wait until next Thursday to get to 1.7. Treat it as, I'm gonna get through chapter 1 as fast as I can while still feeling comfortable with the material. These are the last dates you should be turning things in by. If you get behind this schedule, then as you can see, it's really full all the way up until the end. And so if you get behind this schedule, then you're in real danger of not being able to pass the class, okay? So this is kind of your, you know, kind of the latest you should be on any particular section. Now, I do realize, of course, life can happen, right? And so even with the best of intentions, sometimes life occurs and we aren't able to stick to this schedule. Of course, you can catch up later, right? If something happens. And realizing that there every once in a while will be sections that are difficult, particularly difficult for you, I do have something called a late pass. So if I click on one of these, there's a little link here that says use a late pass. And what that allows you to do is to turn in an assignment 3 days after it's due. So you would use this if, like, I would say one of two things. If there's a particular section that was just incredibly difficult for you and you just really needed a lot of extra time on it and needed some help from me and things like that, then that'd be a good reason to use a late pass if that due date has passed. So what that'll do is notice it's due the 10th. So if I click on this, it'll make it due the 13th. In fact, let me just go ahead and use it. I'll say yes, let's redeem a late pass. And notice now the new due date is the 13th, okay? So you have 10 of these throughout the quarter that you can use. Like I said, try not to use them because that means you're falling behind and at some point the quarter has to end, right? So you want to make sure that you're not just perpetually using these things, but they are there in case you need them. Okay, Now going back to the main page here, just a couple other things. So here's the syllabus for the course. All right. For the most part, I'm going to let you read through the syllabus. It does give how the grades are calculated here so that you know how it's calculated in that weighted total that I showed you before. So let's see here. We might go over this a little bit later together. As far as contacting me, the messaging system on WAMAP is going to be the fastest way to get a hold of me. You're welcome to use my school email as well. That is fine. You can also call my office number, and of course I'm not in my office, but if you call the office number and leave a message, that messaging does get through to my email. So I'll be able to see the message and listen to it and then give you a call back. So you can do that. But the very fastest way to get a hold of me each day is through the messaging system. And again, the way you do that is just click on messages, send new message, and first of all, select me, right? And then, I don't know what the subject is, maybe letting me know that you were sick, I've been sick 4 days, and maybe you're letting me know, well, that's why I haven't been doing my work lately, so that's that sort of thing. And then you just hit send message. Okay. All right. Now, the last thing I want to just say in this video is that I am going to have a daily office hour, and you'll notice that it is at the same time as our class is supposed to be, right? And so that office hour, basically I'm taking our class time and I'm making it a virtual office hour. So the way that is going to work is you're going to click on this link. So this link here is going to take you to a Zoom meeting, okay? And if you've never used Zoom before, don't worry, it's really easy. You just click on this meeting and I will be there. And in fact, I'm using Zoom right now to record this video. So you'll see my face. I'll be able to share my screen with you. You can share your screen with me. And I will be able to help you over the computer. And there'll be I'm not going to try to explain exactly how all that help is going to work, but I think you'll find it really helpful. So what I want to do is try to have everybody, if we can, be at that first Zoom meeting, which will be Monday at 11:30. So if you can come to that, please do. If you can't, it's okay, but really try to, so that you can really feel comfortable with how the Zoom meeting works. And then after that, it's not going to necessarily be a mandatory thing every day, but I will always be there at that time. So one good way to do it might be to just click into that meeting, and maybe you just sit here and you do work and you have the meeting open and you never even ask me a question, and that's totally fine. But at least then you're already there, and then if you have a question, you can ask it. So try your best to be there 11:30 Monday, and you just are going to click on this Zoom meeting link. I've also sent you an email that has this link in it as well. Let's see here. The one last thing I wanted to leave you with is, if you are someone who is has finished Math 50C pretty quickly and is moving into Math 75, you cannot hurt yourself by trying to go through the Math 75 material. So the way this is set up is, let's say you had like a 92% average on all your tests in Math 50. When you start into Math 75, your grade in the class is going to be based on your best 4 chapter tests and your best final exam. So if you then start trying to go through the Math 75 material and you don't do very well on it, there's no way that those Math 75 tests will hurt your grade. Okay, they can only help you. So please do press on if you're able to get through that Math 50 material quickly. It can't hurt you at all, and it might really reward you at the end of the quarter. All right, you might have lots of questions when we have our Zoom meetings this week. Please do ask those of me. I don't anticipate that I covered everything perfectly or 100% clearly. And also in regards to those Zoom meetings, we're going to have it every single day at 11:30, but I'm also available at other times. So 11:30 is going to be kind of our office hour that's just for us as a class. I will also have times by appointment that we can meet. So if you say, you know, like if you kind of want a little more individualized instruction, like let's say we have like 10, 20 people every single day logging into Zoom and people have to wait to get their questions answered, then you might want some more individualized time, and that we can completely do that. We just we'll just set up a different Zoom meeting at a different time. So that's definitely something we can do. So don't be shy about asking for that. All right, well, I look forward to meeting all of you virtually at least. And so this week, hopefully I'll get a chance to meet all of you. If not day one, maybe day 2 or 3 of that Zoom meeting, and answer any questions that you might have. But again, feel free to start this weekend, right? Go ahead and get into WAMAP, take the pre-test. You've got nothing to lose. It can't hurt you. And you can just get started right away. And I'll be checking to see if any of you are making progress this weekend, so that I can keep tabs on you, and I will starting now begin checking my messages in WAMAP, so that if you have questions that come up, I can answer them. All right, thank you, and look forward to meeting you all.